Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the first ever Fish Hat Poker vlog. Really excited for you guys to see this. We're going to be watching a 2-5 match to stack game that we played a few weeks ago. We got completely run over in the game, but there are some very interesting hands. It's going to be a bit of a shorter vlog since I wasn't really prepared to film and play poker at the same time, so my phone ran out of battery, but we got some longer ones coming up for you guys. Really hope you enjoy, and peace out.
We quickly get seated and buy in for $1,000. It only takes a few minutes before we see our first premium. We look down at 2-3 of spades and UTG +1 and open to $15. The button calls and both lines fold. The flop comes 2 of hearts, 5 of spades, and queen of clubs. We flop a pretty nutted hand, but the flop is so good for us that we don't really need any protection. We check and the button checks back. The turn comes a 2 of diamonds, giving us trips, but there are so many bad river cards that I have to bet for protection now. Cards like a 5 or a queen would be absolutely disastrous, so we need to protect our hand. We bet $15 and they luckily snap fold. I knew the river would have been a queen. Obviously, I was just kidding. I may be a fish, but I'm not that bad. Let's be serious for the remainder of the vlog. For our next hand, UTG opens to $15 and we look at Jack of Hearts, 10 of diamonds in the big blind. Although the UTG opening range is tight, our hand is good enough to come along, and the flop is 4 of hearts, 3 of spades, and 9 of diamonds. I strongly resist my urge to donk, and I check it over to the pre-flop aggressive. He checks it back, and the turn comes a 6 of clubs. This card is actually quite good for a range, especially when he checks the flop, since we have all the 2 pairs and straights, so I lead out for a bet of $20. This player likes to call, so he can still have some overcards and weak top pairs. So if we don't hit a pair, we plan to bluff off on safe rivers. The river comes at 8 of clubs, which I think is still pretty good for our range. We bet $65 and we get our opponent to fold. In this next hand, low jack limps, folds around to us in the button where we look at king of diamonds, queen of clubs. We ISO to $20, which in hindsight is a bit small, and we get the big blind and low jack to make the call. The flop comes 5 of diamonds, ace of clubs, 2 of spades. Both our opponents check, and this time I sneakily check back with their king high and backdoor straight draw. The turn brings the 6 of diamonds and big blind bets out for $25. While he can certainly have an ace since we checked back on the flop, our opponent could also be bluffing a lot of his junk that he cold called the open with, like 7-8, jack 10, queen 10, king 7 that we were actually ahead of. The river comes the queen of spades and we make second pair. The big blind checks, and I think that we can actually find some value here by beating some worse queen X and some second and third pairs, but this time, unfortunately, we check back and we lose to an ace. I'm in the $10 straddle this hand, and UTG +1, small blind, and big blind all limp to us. We look down at an ace-9 of hearts, and we definitely aren't letting them see this flop for cheap. I do a little Wolfgang Cinco de Mayo, and we bump it up to 55, and only the original limper calls. The flop comes 7 of hearts, 2 of spades, and ace of clubs. I think similar to our last hand, our opponent can be limping with a bunch of weak hands, so we bet out for $40 around third pot and UTG +1 calls. The turn comes an 8 of hearts, giving us a flush draw to go along with our top pair. I think on this card we can check or bet, and this time I decide to check. UTG +1 bets out for $75, and with top pair and a flush draw, we're not going anywhere. We make the call. River brings in the 6 of spades, and I check hoping for a check back, but our opponent ends up going all in for $240. I think our price is too good at this point, and we end up making the call and losing to a set of 7s. Once again, the dealer screws me over and I take him to the ground. Nice hand, nice hand, nice hand. If you liked our vlog so far, please like and subscribe since it really helps grow our channel. Also, please check out our YouTube shorts for some funny poker skits. Follow us at Fish Hat Poker on Instagram. The same opponent that we battled for the last 2 hands limps again, when we're in the small blind with king of diamonds, 10 of hearts. I raise to $20 and he calls. We lost the last 2 hands to him, so let's see if we can get him back this time. The flop comes 2 of clubs, 9 of hearts, and 7 of spades. I battle for $20, getting most of his junk to fold, and would do the same things here with my overpairs. He calls, and the turn comes the 9 of diamonds. With this board pair, the amount of 9s he has in his range is actually reduced, and I think this is quite a good card for us. We decide to bet again for $60, and our opponent calls, but looks like he's doing so reluctantly. We get to the river with a 4 of clubs, and since we've been punting a bit, this player has really gotten the best of us, so honestly we're just going to check it down. Wait a minute, why am I grabbing chips? I end up betting for $115, and looks like we got called by pocket eights. Why am I such a fish? This is the last hand of our vlog, and we look down at my least favorite hand, pocket kings. Our home game arch nemesis straddles to $10, and we open to $30 in the hijack. The straddle calls, and we see a flop of Jack, Jack, 9, Rainbow. This is a pretty safe board for our kings. We still have all the overpair advantage, and we do have the better jacks in our range. We continue for a bet of $25, and we surprisingly face a check raise to $75. Against most players at 1-3 and 2-5, it would already be leaning quite close to a fold, since our opponent should really be check raising a lot on paired boards, but most people don't do it enough. This opponent is definitely not most people though, so we can't fold yet and make the call with our overpair. The turn comes to 8 of clubs, which brings in some straights like Queen 10 and 10-7, but in game I didn't realize that since I was still focusing on recording and wasn't really able to focus playing properly on poker. Villain bets out for 150, which is almost full pot. Definitely should have folded with the straight draw coming in and him still having all the jack X in his range. I put in the call and the river comes the 4 of clubs. This brings in the backdoor flush draw, and although we hold the king of clubs, I'm not sure that is too relevant in this spot. Villain goes all in for 390, which is a slight overbet, and this puts us in the tank. He is super polarized in this spot and either represents a full house or a complete bluff, since I think a lot of his straights and jack X would slow down on the flush completing card. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of history with this opponent, and he is definitely capable of having a lot of bluffs here. We end up putting in the call since apparently I learned to play poker from Rampage and I don't like to fold, so shows a flop boat with Jack 9 off.
Fuck! What's up guys? We just wrapped up our session. We are in for 2,500 and we cashed out for 1,780. There's plenty of big pots we unfortunately didn't get to capture because our phone ran out of battery, but we should have some good ones for the next sessions coming up. If you really like the channel, please like and subscribe. It really helps us grow and encourages us to keep pumping out short and long form videos. Peace.